Welcome.
Hi, everyone.
Hi, Christina.
Hi.
Hi, Nikki.
Hi, Patty.
How's everybody doing today?
Doing well.
I'm good.
I'm super excited. We have new faces here, new members joining us today. I'm very excited about it, and I can't wait to get started. I think I'll just give another couple minutes for people to come in. I know we had a pretty successful RSVP list. I think we had a good topic, Christina.
Maybe. I think we did. It is definitely pertinent for the season that we're in right now. And I want to shout out all the Brampton people in the building. Hi, Akil, Sharice, Jim. Thanks for coming
Hey.
Hey.
So yeah, definitely think we picked a good topic, and I think everyone can kind of learn something from it. Divi's awesome, so.
Yes, I'm sorry I had to mute myself. This is the second time I've done my meeting from this location, and it's the second time that the leaf blower arrived during the meeting. So it only lasts a minute, but when it turns it on, I'm going to mute myself just until we get started. And oh, there's some more people coming in. Fantastic.
205, 894.
Hi, Christine.
Hey, Jim, how are you doing?
Good.
Missed you yesterday, but I'm excited you're here today.
Yeah, I'm glad I could make it.
So are people who come from outside the New York area, Divi people, is this considered Divi bombing, or just people coming in?
This is called taking advantage of the quarantine situation.
Absolutely. I think last time we had someone from England at our Divi meetup, so it's great. It's great that people can come from all over.
Literally across the pond. Cool.
It's been really wonderful to be able to expand, right, and extend beyond. I love meeting in person, but there is a silver lining to be able to really connect outside of our circles. We have still joining, guys. So this is fantastic. Let's just give it another minute. And I thought today, and by the way, Jeanine will be joining us shortly. She's a little delayed, but she's coming. My co-host Jeanine is on her way, so she'll be joining us in a little bit. And I thought today it would be best to get started with the presentation, and then once we're open into the conversation piece and doing Q&A and things around that nature, is a better time for us to make introductions. So after the presentation, we'll just open it to Q&A and we'll have conversation like we always do. And at that time, if you want to start into the conversation, just say your name, who you are, where you're from in the world, and you can add, if you like, what you love about Divi or how long you've been using Divi and what capacity. That sound good? Can I get a thumbs up?
Sounds good.
Everybody's hearing me well? Okay, wonderful. So let's see if there's anyone else reading here. And I do have a message in Meetup. Give me 1 second. See.
So, Carolyn,
Trying to get in.
Christina's doing this presentation for the New York Divi group.
Okay.
That's how I found out about it.
You don't have your camera on?
Okay, so I say we can get started if everyone's ready. And I would love to start by introducing Christine formally. We're really excited to have the collaboration happening today and to have you speaking for us and presenting for us, but it's even more exciting that Christina is a fellow Divi host. So we met in the Divi host group, and again, because of the nature of life right now and being able to do things remotely and expanding even more so because we can only do things remotely, we're able to foster this new collaboration. So we're really excited. Let me tell you a little bit about Christina. Before being a girl boss was even cool, Christina was hustling her way through high school, selling her dad's calling cards for the family business. Even before then, Christina was always selling something or another on the playground in elementary school. Fast forward to a life-changing move from the United Kingdom to Canada, she became her own boss for the first time in 2009, without any business school or post-secondary education. The life-changing decision provided her with business lessons, both good and bad, that she is ever grateful to have learned and experienced. Now, she currently running her six-figure digital design firm, Noya Designs, has over 10 years of business acumen under her belt, over 1.5 million views on her YouTube channel, Naturally Nerdful, and a calling to never allow another millennial boss go through the crap she went through starting out as a creative entrepreneur. Her mission is to equip creative business owners with the tools and framework to build their business ready to impact this digital age. We are so excited to have you here today, Christina, and I'll let you introduce and say a little bit about yourself, and then I'll hand over the screen to you so that you can take over.
Cool. Well, firstly, thank you for the opportunity. I really appreciate it. And hello to everybody here. So this is my very first official Divi meetup because the Divi Brampton hasn't launched yet. So it launches next week, Thursday. But thank you all so much for having me. And thank you, Patty Rose, also for the introduction. So we're just gonna go right in. So today I'm gonna be showing everyone here how to convert the Divi secondary menu from a menu with the social media icon and the phone number to becoming an announcement bar. And then we're going to take it up a notch and actually have the announcement bar convert into a pop-up, all using a couple of lines of CSS as well as a free Divi-friendly plugin. So that's what's on the menu for today. And I've actually made the code that I utilized to and you can go and download it if you want to follow along with me as I am doing this presentation. But I'm now going to share my screen, and I'm essentially going to show you first what the final product looks like. We're going to go and see the functionality. And then after that, I'm going to take you guys to a bare bones Divi installation and create everything completely from scratch. So if you're ready, give me a thumbs up and I'll get started. Ooh, that was so fast. Great. Awesome. Let's do this. So I'm going to share my screen now. And all right. So can everyone see my screen?
Yep.
Great.
Yep.
Okay, so the link I put in the chat takes you to the Brampton WordPress meetup. And if you notice, I've made the code available. So if you do want to follow along as we're doing this presentation, you can go ahead, download the code, and you can copy and paste it and kind of work your way up through there. So that's step number one. So firstly, I'm going to show you a client site. And basically on this site, I will show you exactly what we're going to be recreating. So if you notice, this is a Divi website. And this banner up here, when you hover over it, it changes color. When you hover over the link, it also changes color. And that is the secondary menu. However, when you click on it, it opens this beautiful pop-up. And this pop-up was also created directly within the Divi Builder. So this is what we're going to be recreating today. And we're going to recreate it on another one of my clients' websites, which I haven't started yet. So it's a perfect opportunity for us to start right from the beginning and get right into it. So first thing you want to do, obviously, is log into the WordPress backend if you haven't done so already. And we're going to be spending most of our time, honestly, in the appearance and the customized section. So this is literally where all the fun happens. This is where we change the colors, all of that, etc. So right now we're working with the default Divi colors, etc. But we can go into the CSS and make some changes, etc. So the first thing you want to do is you want to boot up your CSS code, and I will break down what each section does, and I do have it commented so that everyone can kind of understand what we're talking about. So we're just going to simply copy and paste these 3 sections of code into the additional CSS section on the customizer. So if you don't know how to get here, let's go back a bit. So once you've logged in to your Divi backend and you see the dashboard, I like mine completely clean. You then hover over appearance and then customize. So we're zooming at this point in time. You already have Divi installed. You've already put in your API key, using a genuine version of the theme, because that's good. And we are now going to scroll down through the menu that comes up under customizer. We're going to go all the way to the bottom under additional CSS. And we're now going to paste the code that is provided inside the downloadable. So let's kind of break down this code a little bit. Like I said, it's only a couple of lines of CSS, but I'm going to break down each section so that you know what to change when it comes to your turn to doing this menu for your websites or for your clients' websites. So the first section, we are targeting the secondary menu as a whole. And what we're doing is we are centering the text. So by default, the secondary menu on Divi, it puts the secondary menu on the top right-hand side of the website. So what this first section does over here, lines 2 through 5 in this specific case, is it centers anything that appears in that secondary menu. So in this case, it wouldn't be wise to have social media icons in this section as well, because we want to make this strategically and strictly an announcement bar. We're not going to put in a phone number, we're not going to put in an email address, and we're not going to enable social media icons on the secondary menu. So that first section of code, lines 2 through 5, if you're starting on a brand new installation, that essentially aligns the text or the secondary menu into the center of the top menu. Are we good so far? Any questions? Awesome. I feel like I'm doing great. Good. So the second line of code now, that directly changes the background color on hover of the menu. So if we go over here, actually, I'll show you an example of what the secondary menu looks like with just the centered text. So on this website, which I did for my client, if you notice, this is a full secondary menu as well, but it's centered. So we have the phone number, we have the email address, we have the social media icons. So this is what this first line of text would do. If you just had just this and nothing else, and you put all of that content in there, it will look exactly like this, centered inside the middle of the secondary menu. But notice that when we move our mouse over, it doesn't change color. So what I decided to do was I decided to separate and get the selector for the top header and apply the hover to it so that when someone mouses over, they know that this is a link. Because intuitively, when people go on websites, they want to understand and know that something is a link so they can click on it. So what I did was I set the background color to change once you hover over it. So if we go back to the main website, when you hover over the secondary menu, it changes color. So that was one of the ways I wanted people to know that this is a link, you should probably click on it. Now, I felt that the white, which is the default active /link color for the secondary menu, even though it looks good on black, I wanted to go deeper and have it show up better. So what I did was I then added this second line of text, which simply selected the actual text within the secondary menu. So if we hover over, yes, the background changes, but when we move over to the text, that also changes as well. So that's what that third portion of code is for. So if we break the code down again, the first section is to center the secondary menu. The second section is to change the background on hover. And the third section is to change the link text on hover. Understood so far, everyone? Any questions? Awesome sauce. I feel great. I feel really good. Awesome. So once you've put that in, you're then going to click publish. However, if you noticed, nothing is showing right now. So the reason for that is because we haven't defined a menu, or in our case, an announcement. So we're going to go back into the back end of the WordPress website, and we're going to go now into the menu builder. So we're going to go appearance and then menus. And what we're going to do here is notice we already have a main menu assigned to the primary display location of the primary menu. That's not what we want to do. What we're going to do is we're going to create a new menu by clicking over here, edit your menu below, or create a new one. So we're going to do that. And we're going to click create a new menu. And here you can name it anything you want. For this particular situation, I'm going to call it announcement. And then we're going to click create menu. Awesome. So now we're going to add the actual announcement text or link to this menu. So how do we do that? We're going to use a custom link. And for the URL, for now, we're going to put a hashtag. Nothing serious right now. And for the link text, we're going to put now the announcement. So for example, on Colleen's website, she put COVID-19 announcement, remote therapy. So whatever we want our announcement to be, this under customer sale ended. And we're going to add this to the menu. And then we're going to go back to the menu and make sure we save it. So hopefully when we navigate now to the front end of the website, remember to
Didn't enable it. Yeah.
Secondary menu. So let's remember to do that. And now when we go back, ta-da, we have our secondary menu. And it says summer sale ending soon now. And if we hover over it, notice it changes the exact same color as Colleen. So let's do a little bit of customization to this menu. So what can we customize? Well, we can customize quite a few things using the default Divi options, and then we can customize some of the things a little bit deeper with the CSS code that we use. So let's first see what we can customize on this banner with the default customizer. So if we go under header and navigation, and then secondary menu bar, all of these things will still be relevant to this menu bar. So for example, if I decided to change the background color to, let's say, black, it still changes. Let's say, for example, I wanted the text to be yellow. Terrible, terrible UI. It still changes. And utilize or add could, if you to, I don't know if that would be advisable just from a user experience standpoint, but you could if you wanted to. We could make the text caps, which I find to be better. And so you can still utilize the default Divi secondary menu bar to customize the text within here. If you want to make the text bigger, you can do that as well, etc. So now that's the main aesthetic changes that we can change. But let's say we want to go deeper. So let's say, for example, we want to change the hover, what happens? So whenever I'm designing, I like to have two tabs open, one for the back end of WordPress and then one for the front end, just so I can see what I'm doing. So right now I've made these changes in the customizer. So right now this is the default Divi settings. We still have Colleen's beige pinkish color for the hover. And if we refresh the page now, it is now taken in the edits we made directly through the customizer. So the text is yellow, it's slightly bigger, the background is black. However, if we hover over it, it still has that color, which is not on brand. So this is where you need to have a little bit understanding or knowledge of hex codes. And if you don't, you can simply Google whatever hex code matches with your branding or with your website. So now what we're going to do is we're going to go back while still remaining in the customizer, and we're going to scroll back down to additional CSS. And so here we have two options and two places we can edit further. We can edit the background color on hover of the navigation menu. So this part right here, we can change this color. So let's say, for example, now we don't want to use Colleen's red. We're going to make Colleen's pink. We're going to use another color. So let's use a fire truck red and publish that and see what happens on the front end. So we're publishing it. It's going into the interwebs. We go back to the front end tab. We refresh. It looks like nothing's happened, but when we move our mouse over, the background color is now red. And let's say, for example, now if we move our mouse directly onto the text itself, this text is still black. So maybe we want to make it something that's a bit more viewable. So here we're going to change next to this from line 9, we're going to change that color from black to white. And we're going to publish that. Wait for that to hit the interwebs. We're going to go back to the tab, refresh. Looks good. Mouse over, and now the text has changed to a white color. So that's the first part. That's the aesthetic changes of the menus. So we have the bar, it shows, and technically we could leave it like this. So let's say, for example, if you did have a store, you may want this to go to your WooCommerce page, or maybe you want it to go to a specific section on your website, as an example. But we can upgrade this a bit further and maybe have a pop-up announcement similar to what Colleen had on her website. So if we go here, the link doesn't go anywhere, but it opens up a pop-up. So now we're going to recreate this using a very free, very awesome plugin called Ups for Divi. Has anyone, Andrea's heard of it? Cool. So this is the pop-up plugin that I'm using in this specific case to be able to create this pop-up over here. And if you're already familiar with the pop-up, then you know how it works. Very simply, you will create a section on a page. You will assign it the ID of the pop-up builder, and then we will go back to the menu to assign it so that the pop-up will open on link click. So I'm going to walk you through that section thus far. Let's take a quick break. Does anyone have any questions for me thus far? Any comments, suggestions while that we're here?
I use the Divi pop-up for email list building. I have the button, and then because I don't like web forms on websites. Mm-hmm. So I have the web form pop up using that Divi pop-up for Divi.
Cool. Cool.
Yeah, super easy.
This was actually the first time I've actually used this plugin specifically, because I've heard of it, but I never used it until this. Pretty cool.
I've used the Bloom opt-in. The Bloom opt-in form, I've used that for a pop-up.
Yeah, I have a love-hate relationship with Bloom. I find that it's so, I feel like they could do so much more with it, specifically on the design aspect. And that really bugs me. So I feel like some features they should add to it should be things like adding a photo background, or maybe further going deeper into the fonts, etc., or having it actually take the styles from the customizer into the pop-up. So Bloom is it's very good. I would say it's very, very easy to use on websites. I even use it on some of my client sites who aren't on Divi. So I definitely think it's a good plugin, but I feel like Elegant Themes could do a lot more on it. So before we get into the next section, does anyone have anything else they would like to share regarding the topic before we move on?
So far,
Christina, sorry, Christina.
Okay.
I guess M's before S that
Yeah.
I mentioned or just confirmed the additional CSS section under the customizer isn't that the same as in the Divi options where you can put CSS? Is that one and the same?
Yeah, it's the exact same
okay.
section. So if we were to
I'm sorry.
navigate there right now, this exact CSS block would be there. So you could go either section. I personally prefer to use the customizer because I can sort of kind of see what happens in real time, but exactly what we put there shows up here as well.
Great, thanks.
Good question. You're welcome. And who is next?
Well, I'm actually new to Divi, and I just wanted to get some. I guess I'll wait till after your presentation, but more in lines of marketing and how do you guys go about, and you know, anyone can chime in at that point. How do you guys go about marketing, getting clients, and so forth? So I'll wait till the end and after you're completed with your presentation.
Cool. I definitely think everybody can share a little bit about how they run their Divi business for sure. Okay, so now we're gonna go into the actual Divi builder, and we're just gonna use this page because, like I said, I haven't started this website yet. It was like a clean slate. So I like to use the visual builder. So here on this page, I'm gonna click enable visual builder. And while that's waiting to load, let's just look up the instructions for the pop-up. So essentially, we open the builder, edit a section, and we'll see a new pop-up tab in the, make sure it says this is a pop-up and set the pop-up ID to something. So in this case, like Andrea mentioned, you can say have it for newsletter opt-in, or in Colleen's instance, she had it show a message, etc. And then we'll take the pop-up ID, so hashtag whatever the ID is, and we're going to put that into the secondary menu. So that's what we're going to work through at this point. So we're in the visual builder, and now I'm going to create a new section. So new section, regular, we're going to insert a simple row. Let's add a blurb. And I don't know if you guys know of this, but I love using this on client sites. It's called Khaled Ipsum, and it basically generates lorem ipsum with quotes from DJ Khaled. I find it to be hilarious. So that's what I use to fill up dummy content on my client's website. So let me put that in the chat. I think it's always a giggle, and sometimes they actually read it. I think it's always so strange. I'm like, why would you read that, sir? That's not necessary for you to read, but yeah. So here's a link to Khaled Ipsum in case you want to make your clients laugh. Yeah, okay, cool. So we have, oh, did I just stop sharing my screen? Oh no.
it looks like you did. Yeah, it's coming back.
Okay, we're back. All right, cool. Okay, so now we're in the visual builder. We put in our text. Let's add an icon to this blurb. Let's do a house. House is not a home. Oh, okay, cool. So now let's go back to edit this section. So press the gear around the blue section settings, and okay, hold on, let's see. So
I don't think you've enabled the plugin.
probably. I don't even think I've downloaded
It should be next to the advanced button. There'll be the pop-up button.
Good point. I think I have not, because this is literally a brand new site. I don't even think the plugin is installed. So let's install the plugin together, guys and gals. So we'll go to plugins, add new. And then we're going to search pop-ups for Divi. And there it is. Oh, this plugin over here is also amazing. Has anyone tried this one? Supreme Modules Lite. Oh my gosh. It is literally one of the best Divi plugins out there. And even the Lite version does so much. So things like flip boxes, typing text. It has menus for restaurants, etc. It's a very good plugin. Let me put it in the chat as well. Really good. You should definitely try it out. All right, cool. So I'm going to refresh this front end page just to see if it'll kick in the plugin. So step 0, make sure you install the plugin before you embark on this journey so that it can actually work. So now we're going to go back and edit the section. Oh, look, it says pop-up. Awesome. So we're going to click on general and say, this is a pop-up. And for the pop-up ID, we're just going to say blurb. But remember what it is. And you can customize the behavior if you want. I think I just went deeper into the button color. I think I made it light, transparent background, etc. Whatever matches with the website you're currently building, that's really important. And we're going to click yes. And notice how it has, number 1, made this look totally different from a regular section. So if you notice, there's like a diagonal background. It's kind of shushed it in, kind of a section, just so that you know that this is not a regular section. This is a pop-up. So we're going to now save this page. And we're going to go back to the back end. And we're going to go into appearance and menus. And what we're going to do now is, for this secondary menu, for this announcement board, we're going to make the URL tag and then the section / pop-up ID, which in this case is blurb. And we're going to save. And then we're going to exit out of here. And we're going to refresh just for good measure. And so now we have recolored the bar. The bar hover is different. The link is different. And we click on it. And here is our pop-up. And you can further customize the pop-up. I think for Colleen's site, no, I didn't. I changed the size of it because I felt like it was a bit wide. So I used some CSS to change the size of it. And that was pretty cool. And you press X and you are done. So that is how you would use simple CSS, a free plugin, and the customizer in Divi to create an announcement bar in 36 minutes. Any questions?
I have a quick question. You know, when you showed the therapist pop-up and it had the slider on the side, did that appear just because the text was long?
Yeah.
Okay.
She gave me a lot of
code that or anything. That just appeared.
It was just like, because the text was long and there was a lot of information and photos.
And you made it narrower by just padding it in?
I think so. I don't remember specifically, but we can go in if we want, if you guys would like. So I'm just going to enable the visual builder. I think, I'm not sure. Let's go into the code and actually take a look at it.
While you're going into the back end, Christine, I'll just say fantastic presentation, loved it. And now that we're opening for conversation and Q&A, I would love for all of you, if you're opening up to ask a question, introduce yourselves so that we can get to know each other also. You know, very often that's done at the beginning of a meeting, but I think now is just a great time. So Andrea, hi, I didn't realize you were here earlier. So great.
I am. I'm from Boston, here in a huge rainstorm here in Boston.
Well, welcome to our Divi NYC.
Yeah, this has been great. I love this.
Awesome. Thank you. Glad I could help.
Yeah. I'm a Canadian in Boston, so
How does that work?
I want to come home. It's
So like,
crazy.
are you in Boston for like, cause we're Brampton, Ontario.
Yep.
Huh, who
Yeah.
would've thought?
Yeah. I'm from Vancouver originally.
Okay, cool. Cool. All right, so I'm gonna see if what specifically I might have said here. Advanced custom CSS. Okay, so let's see.
There it is.
Yeah.
And the pop-up doesn't need to be, that module doesn't need to be near the top, obviously.
No, it can be anywhere on the page.
Okay.
Huh.
I bet you just did padding or something.
Gotta go to
I'm trying to
design.
find where I wrote the code though.
Christina, the section that you created is live on the page. It's actually a section on the page. So if someone was to scroll down, they would see it. But if they click on the banner, it becomes a pop-up. Do I understand?
No, you don't see it.
So it's actually hidden.
Okay.
So they won't see the section. So the only people who would see it would be the admins / the editors of the page. And when you click the pop-up, that's the only time it'll be seen. But I love how it like still functions as if it were a part of the builder. That's really neat.
That you couldn't call it from another page.
I think you could.
From
I
the
think you
full-
would just have to do maybe an absolute URL as opposed to a relative one. Yeah.
Seema, did you have a question?
I had a question about blurb images. Like, I know it's a little different, but I've been struggling with I have a 3-column blurb and the images are not matching and they don't look. What's the best way of handling that? Like, I just have images on the column with no text.
Sometimes like the easiest way, honestly, is to just ensure that the images are all the same size. Sometimes like it's just like trying to like get the CSS to make it like zoom out and like cut off. It's just make sure they're all the same size. Sometimes that's the quickest, fastest, easiest way to make sure that it looks good. But there's this piece of code I use on every single client website that I find if you want to make it at least vertically aligned, this tutorial is pretty good. And a lot.
Okay.
Yeah, so let me put that in
Yeah,
the
chat.
yeah.
That'd be great.
There it is. So I can't seem to find the specific code that would change the size of the pop-up code in the document, and I will let Patty Rose know and just send a message to everyone to back and re-download it. But thank you everyone for coming to my first Divi presentation. I appreciate you. Y'all are great. And I hope you learned something and are able to put this into action on your client sites as well as your own sites.
Christina, you use Chrome or Mozilla for, because sometimes the visual builder gets really slow. So what's the best way of handling that?
Honestly, I've heard, so some of my colleagues have said it could be internet connection. So I just always stuck with Chrome because I'm very plugged into the Google ecosystem. Like I have a Google Pixel, I live with multiple Google Homes, etc. So I just keep everything in Chrome. I've heard some really good things about Mozilla, but I think I haven't used Mozilla extensively since maybe 2015. So I can't really provide any but I strictly use Chrome. But if you do find a way to use Chrome as well as have the Divi builder load decently fast, please let me know.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is the you just said the Chrome Pixel? Is that what you said? Is that how you get your hex colors on Chrome? Is that an
No, so I actually, for the hex colors, actually, I'm just gonna share my screen again. I have this amazing Chrome app right here. I don't know how I can hide this. Over here, this one right here. It's called Color Picker, or sorry, it's called Colorzilla.
Okay, great.
And what Colors is amazing because when you click on it, you can literally either like select hex code directly or pick color from page, and you can pick the color from any element on the page, and it will give you the RGB code. If you go back in here, it will give you the RGB, the HSL, the hex, etc. And it saves all the colors that you've picked. So that's something I use all when working with clients specifically, and picking codes from pages or across the web, or even clicking directly in Chrome as I'm working.
It's a huge lifesaver. I have one in Mozilla, which I was using mostly was Firefox Developer. And I was having some Divi issues with that. I don't know if any of you have. And so I moved over to work mostly on Chrome, but then I have to have the two browsers open because when I need a hex color, I got to go put the link into Mozilla, get my eyedropper, bring it over. You know, it's like, I'm going to now load that extension in Chrome. Thank you.
I love it. I love it, especially the thing I love about it the most is the color history. So it will save every single color that you've picked. So you can always go back. And sometimes, especially when I'm working between multiple clients, it's like, I don't have to open up Photoshop, bring out their branding board, pick from there, come back. It's already, if I've picked it, it's already in there. So it's very, very helpful.
That's great. Thank you. Do we have any other questions?
You're so welcome.
Can you remove colors from the picker once you're done with a project?
I feel so, but I haven't actually tried.
Yeah.
So you test it out and let me know.
Christina, hi. My name is Aki. I'm from Chicago. I've been using Divi for about like a year. I have a question about plugins because my hesitation is I try to avoid having too many plugins. Like when you work on your websites, do you have like a rule that you have tried to keep below, 15 or so, or how you go about, I guess, when you design
Honestly,
websites?
it depends on the type of website I'm building. So with all honesty, if it's a basic informational website, I try to stay under 5 plugins. But right now I'm working on a directory with Divi, and I think we're at 15 plugins right now. So I think it's a matter of managing features and the website you're building, because for example, when you're building larger scale WooCommerce websites, the plugins really add up because WooCommerce really needs like every little thing is a plugin. Like even to just get working really well, there's like 4 plugins. To get labels working really well, it's another 5 plugins, and just that like to any particular number unless it's an informational only site. So on an informational only site, I try to have only 3 plugins, and that would be Supreme, Divi Lite. I think we could do a presentation on that later because it's an amazing plugin. So that's one plugin I always have. I don't even always have Yoast, to be honest, because I don't do SEO. But the second plugin I always use is Akismet, the spam one, and Auto Optimize. So, but the truth is, if you're building a website properly, even when you are using, like, I've had websites that have no plugins. So the whole point is you want to optimize as best as possible. And I think the biggest issue from my experience has always been with the images. Images are always way too large, way too big, way too heavy. So just by simply compressing them, and I use tinyURL for that, I find speeds of the site increase astronomically. Give me one second, my laptop is dying. So I would say, Aki, there isn't a specific number. I think you as the designer have to balance functionality and features and then kind of look at that globally. I think once you start noticing that your site is hitting over 3 seconds in load speed, then you probably need to cut back and see if you can maybe find a plugin that does more things for less load. So I hope that helps.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. That's really helpful.
You're welcome.
I've heard that plugins pose a security risk, and so that if you're not using one, you should get rid of it. You should disable it if you're not using it. So I think there's a tendency sometimes to add plugins, and forget about some of the ones you're no longer using. Good idea to get rid of those.
Yeah. Yeah, I wholeheartedly agree. So like, I know that I do that myself with this one particular plugin. It hasn't been updated in years. It's called Bulk Page Creator. And I typically only use it at the start of a project. I use it to create all the pages for my clients. And then as soon as I'm done that, I uninstall it. So if you find that you've only installed a plugin to do one specific thing and you're done using it, uninstall it. No, don't just like deactivate it, completely uninstall it. Because it's those little things that kind of make the load time on your site slower. When right now we need to make our sites as fast as possible. So
There's also the factor, hi, it's Mickey. There's also the factor of needing, at least for me, a backup plugin and often a caching plugin. So there's two right there. So you know, you do want to limit it, but I like the fact you got away with 3 on a site. That's pretty good.
yeah, I have like it really depends. And I think there's so many other things you have to do in the background to be able to have a website that has 0 plugins. So for example, you want to make sure that your hosting is very, very secure. So that's like the baseline. And then you want to make sure that you have like maybe some form of firewall above that will keep the security. And then you want to make sure that you are using really well-loaded images and stuff like that. But I think it's doing that back-end work is much more important than trying to do more things through the WordPress backend and through plugins and such. So,
what is a good cache plugin, Mickey, or Christina?
I use a lot. I really don't have a preference. I use WP Supercache just because it's very simple.
Okay.
I love using Auto Optimize to minify my CSS and minify my JS and kind of help with my images as well. I love that one. For backups, I love Duplicator. I haven't gotten to, I think, the mental acceptance that I should do automatic backups. Again, my server services are really, really good, so I don't really do that. They can handle all of that. But when I am like moving a website from my sandbox to a client's hosting, I always use Duplicator. So those are my 3, I would say, maintenance plugins. And I will give the floor over to Martin.
I found, Seema, a number of the sites I manage use Lightspeed on the server side. And so the Lightspeed cache plugin works very well with that. But it depends on, who's hosting and what they use.
Yeah.
Has anybody hosted on Amazon used the AWS service for hosting?
I had a friend who was using it and he absolutely loves it. So I've heard really good things about it. I haven't heard anything bad about it thus far.
Oh, okay.
The only gotcha with Amazon, Seema, is that you have to do a lot of hosting management yourself. And there's like, if you go on to Amazon Web Services, there's about 30 different services. So try and figure out which ones, provide a WordPress website, takes a little bit of research as well.
Okay.
So do you know, is it like, do they provide you with like a bare metal server and then you kind of have to work up from there?
It's more from a services standpoint. They provide you with storage. They provide you with, I think, a virtual, I guess you call it a virtual server. And then, it depends what you want to do. If you want to put WordPress press on, then, you know, you need to make sure you have a service that allows you to do that. It's a little complicated.
So
I have
does it come with LAMP or no?
yeah, I have a Amazon web server, WordPress running on it. You can choose one of they have like these free minimal web servers that you can set up. And I have a very small, almost inactive website on it. And still, it's not free. It comes to $1.50 a month. They basically give you a blank box and you can install any operating system, any thing you want on it. It's just like an empty shell of a box. Package library. So for example, Lightspeed has a little package where it includes MySQL and Lightspeed and all on Debian or one of those Ubuntu. So it's like a package of all the servers and application packages into one. So you could install that package, and that company maintains it, and you can use as a start point for your, you know, Linux system administration to be able to fully utilize that. Because even once you install a package, you're responsible for keeping it up to date and applying all the patches and making sure that, you know, everything is up and running and so forth. So it's not for the faint of heart, I'd say.
Yeah, I'd probably recommend going to a hosting company.
Yeah, unless you're really into like the Linux system administration and you want to learn that level of things, which is not really that helpful for when you want to develop like a website. You're more interested in the content and the experience. You don't really care if it's running on, you know, Ubuntu or Debian or CentOS or whatever.
Right.
That's something somebody else should be worrying about. Your focus should be on the client, the customer experience, and, you know, the design and that front end piece, I'd say.
I agree. I wholeheartedly agree. And I come from a system administration background. I used to work in telecommunications. So yeah, that sounds fun though. I think I may get one.
Yeah, I've done like system administration stuff, so I like that things, but it's not good for the whole business. I mean, that's more the hobby portion of it. It's best left to somebody who really does that for a living, because even that system administration stuff, that changes like all the time, and there's all new versions of just the operating system or MySQL and performance tuning those things and making sure all the configuration from one version ties to another. You know, there's so many inconsistencies and variables that's a pain, but I mean, it's fun for some people.
Sounds like fun to me.
And it's not free, $1.50 for the minimum. That's terrible.
That's kind of an insult, isn't it?
Yeah, and they're cloud-based and it'll be super fast. It's not super fast. When you get the free ones, you're on a lower class level of server and services, and you're not on the high network. You know, you're going to pay for that. Amazon has those capabilities, but you're not going to get that on the lower end tiers of service. So you're better off with other companies. If you're really into that, there's a company called UpCloud. Much faster server, $5 a month. You can play with that. That's what I'm using.
Cool.
Christina, I have a question from your talk. I think it was brought up. I don't know if I heard the answer. With the Divi pop-up, can you configure things like padding and margins on that to change the size? You said you use some CSS code to do it, but can you do it?
I did use some CSS code to make it thinner. I don't remember where I put it on the site. So, so I checked in the, so what I said was I would amend the document that I uploaded for today's meetup, and I'll put in the website. I actually went in and amended the padding, so I didn't want it to be so wide. But let me see if I can actually find it. This is why it's very, very important to comment your CSS files, because when you don't comment your files, when you go back into the code, you can't find what you were referring to. So I will double check on that in the document.
And where will we find that document?
Oh, the document, if you go on the chat is the very first.
Okay.
Yeah, and hopefully we'll be able to record. I don't know, I have to talk to the city of Brampton to see if they will give us video recording privileges, so.
Cool.
Yeah.
I guess I could introduce myself. I'm Garth. I'm actually fairly new to Divi. Done a site for a friend. I kind of like it, so I was just wondering, how do you guys market yourself? How do you guys learn more?
What's your name?
So, actually, Garth.
Garth.
Garth Reed. I'm from New York City. I actually work for the New York Times in infrastructure services, and I'm actually an AWS certified engineer. So I know a lot about AWS. I won't even go into the details about it, but I'll let you. Yes, but I like I did a small site for a friend. I don't think it's all that great, but you know, he loves it, free of cost. And I kind of like it, and I want to pick it up as a hobby and, you know, see how where I could go with it. And I'd like some insight into how do you guys learn besides YouTube and Googling CSS? How do you guys market yourself? Right. Anyone could answer.
So Divi itself has a lot of help available, even right within the Divi theme builder. And while you're using Divi, there's a lot of little question marks you can click on. Sometimes a whole little video will actually pop up. So right within Divi, there's lots of help available. And then on their website, they have sections on all the different aspects of Divi, so you can do a search. Some of those lead to YouTube videos that they've done. I found some of their teachers are better than others. There's some that are really good, others go too fast or make too many big assumptions. But those are good places.
Thanks. Thank you, Jim.
Awesome.
I can actually help with the marketing part of it. So Patty and I co-host the meeting, and while I know very little about Divi, I know mostly about marketing. And if you're looking to get into this, really start to network in places that, you know, where entrepreneurs are, where startups are, you know, and start to entertain at going to meetups like this, but for entrepreneurs, especially in fields that you're interested in. So depending on, you know, what some of your interests are, go to startup meetups in those areas. And then A, you're part of it because you're interested in the topic, but B, you could be the guy that makes their websites.
Cool. Thank you.
Yeah, of course.
Garth, for learning, you can use Daryl Wilson. I like his tutorials on YouTube, and even Josh Hall. Josh Hall is nice. And I recently bought a web design process course of Josh Hall, and I'm really glad I bought it. And because he really gives you 50 step of like how to lay out your site and how to go step by step and make your work streamline. And that really saves time, because half the time, like I'm putting CSS one place and second place, and I'm searching like, where the hell did I put CSS? So no, it's I really enjoyed his course. So definitely check joshhall.co.
Thanks for that insight. I was actually looking at Josh Hall, so now I have
a
second. Great. Yep, thanks.
I will definitely second Seema on Josh Hall. I don't actually use his website that frequently, but his Facebook group is absolutely amazing. So I typically, when I have any questions, I'm very, very active in that Facebook group. So I go there and I ask some questions, and they are extremely responsive. So that's the place that I go to get support. I don't think I have ever utilized Divi support ever. I've just gotten all my support from Josh Hall's Facebook group. They're way faster, I would say. I think when it comes to marketing, I think it's about like really getting niche focus, like what Jeannie said. It's like finding out who do I want to serve, where are they, and just being like, hey y'all, I'm here. So for us at Noi Designs, we changed clients. So we used to work with a lot of nonprofits, and we just found that even though they would pay a lot of money, they were extremely stressful. So we're just like, we don't work with them anymore. So we want to work with coaches. And so we are just now positioning ourselves to be wherever the coaches are, so that we want to be synonymous with like the WordPress web designers for coaches. So I don't know, you have a very long, interesting tech background. Maybe you could definitely, I think you definitely go into the startup space, especially in the tech side, and kind of build out all their websites for them. I also say, like, once you do one job very, very well, people will refer you. And before, I never used to believe when people told me that. I thought, oh no, I have to get Facebook ads, I have to do SEO, I have to go out there and pound the pavement. But it's really true. When you do excellent work for people, they will refer you. So Colleen referred me to 2 people, including another person who has just referred me to another person, and I'm not even done with her website. So in the space of 2 months, I've brought in 4 clients without even posting not a single email newsletter, or haven't been active in any Facebook group. Just by doing amazing work for my current clients and servicing them properly, they will refer you. And if you are doing that within the same niche, your name will spread as the guy, again, who does awesome WordPress websites for blank, whatever your niche is. So I really stand behind doing excellent work for your clients, because those referrals, and that, like, I've never had someone who came from a referral who said, oh, I can't afford you, or oh, I don't want to work with you. They've always found a way to work with me because they've visually seen the results from the person who's referring you. So that's my take on getting clients.
Thank you.
That's great, and it's so true. Word of mouth advertising is always, I built both my businesses on word of mouth. It really is that powerful. And I think it's a great piece of advice.
Thank you.
So Christina, you charge by the hour, or you give a full estimate for like number of like the whole project cost? Like what's the best way of?
I give whole project cost, but I calculate that internally by my hourly rate. So my hourly rate is like the whole, I don't want to say wholesale retail. It's like the base price, and then I put like my markup on top of that. But I charge per project, and the only time I do my hourly is typically when I'm working with larger organizations and we run into overages. So that's when I start billing by the hour.
So my sometimes issue, the client wants something done and you're researching a plugin. Now, who takes on that cost of like when you're researching and when you're figuring out the plugin? Like you can't bill the client for that. Like what's the best approach?
To me, honestly, I add that into my hourly. So let's say, for example, if we're going to build a one-page website, I would say, okay, it will take me 10 hours to actually build the site, and let's say 5 hours to actually research, client communications, emails, etc. So my cost would be 15 hours times whatever my hourly rate is, plus 60% markup. That's the final cost. So the client never takes on that, but you as a service provider, in my professional opinion, need to adjust for that. So it may be, what it sounds like is you need to charge more money.
Okay. Yeah. And it's a tricky when you're like researching and you're learning the thing, you think, should I be billing my client? But nobody pays me for that time. So it's like, yeah. Okay.
This is really where I think a service provider sometimes, like, as you, like at every client you take on, as you're learning more and more, you find that you're inching closer towards becoming a high ticket service provider. And there's nothing wrong with that. Yeah. But it's just that, like, number one, you're getting faster at your job, but you're also researching as well. And yeah, so I definitely make it a point to also, before I send them the proposal, I also like to do a bit of research as well. So I check out the forums, I go on, read reviews, etc., see what the demos are saying. So I kind of do that bit of research before I send a proposal to a client. And I don't bill them for that. That's just more so to make sure that I know how to do my job and make sure my team is aware of too. But when I am pricing out projects, I do make sure to factor in the client communication, because emails back and forth, phone calls, and also the research and like installing the plugin, the sandbox crashed, bringing the backup, all those kinds of things. I also make sure to build that on inside as well. So I hope that helps.
How long have you been working with Divi now, Christina?
I want to say 4 years. I think it's been 4 years.
So here's a question that comes up. It's sort of a debatable question in terms of client services and pricing, which is Divi license. And I guess in your case, Christina, do you require your clients to buy their own Divi license, or do you just carve off an ID for them and use it on their site?
I give them an ID. The only if it's Divi. So if it's another client and they want to use like their own plugins or their own theme that's not Divi, I tell them, you go and buy. I will give them a list of what they need to purchase, and I tell them, you go buy all of this. Send me a LastPass for all the usernames and passwords, and we'll go from there. The reason for that is I just don't like having to remind people to renew their stuff. I don't want that onus to be on me. I want it to be on them. And so I always tell people, you buy your plugin. I will tell you which plugin you need to buy, but you buy it and you bear that cost. And when it comes to renewal, you renew and you deal with that. So when it's only for Divi that I just give them an ID, simply because Divi allows unlimited websites. Right. So,
you know, I purchased the developer's license to Divi. Do they know? They may not even do that anymore. Now it's just unlimited. But when I purchased my Divi license years ago, it was, they had a differential between the developer's license and the regular license. So I also use an API just for each client, which is a new thing, by the way, in their back end. If you do create an API, instead of just using your general API, you can list out and create a new one for each website you build, whether it's a client or not. So it's very well organized. If you have an issue with one thing or something, maybe something's not supposed to be used, you can go in and see it. So, but that was the developer's license. Did they change that?
Yeah. Now there's only a lifetime and I think an annual license for unlimited sites.
I see. I have the lifetime, and then I was already on the developer. So
yeah, I don't know if there's an actual developer's license anymore.
I don't think there is. I remember vaguely the time when that was the case. That was when I was using Divi illegally.
Christina,
I'm sorry, can I just ask, because I'm kind of not, I don't understand how, so you have the lifetime license for Divi, you have an ID, and then you're sharing that ID?
No, so I actually don't have a lifetime license. I pay per year because I don't know where my loyalties lie. So I pay per year. But in the Divi backend, you can actually generate a different API key for every single website that you build. So, I'll actually just show you, it's easier. So for all of my clients, I generate a API key for them. And then this is a recent feature that they've added, which I'm absolutely in love with now, where basically you get to name the API keys. Before you didn't. So this is the username, and then you have like all the APIs for all of my clients there. So
Oh my gosh, thank you so much. I did not know that.
No problem. Yeah. So,
Thank
and you
you.
can label it now. Before you couldn't, and that was very annoying because I think I definitely have some clients who have the exact same API key. But yeah, so that's where you go, and you can create I always create a different API for every single client. Even if a client is using Bloom on their website and they're not using Divi, I also generate an API key for them as well, just so I can kind of keep track of who's using it.
So this is gonna sound like a newbie question, but why do you have a separate API for each client?
For me personally, just to keep things organized. You can use one, but I just prefer to have different ones. And I also feel that for me personally, if something were to happen to the Divi API, I wouldn't want it to affect all of my clients. I would just want it to maybe affect just one or two. That's why I personally use multiple.
That makes sense. Thanks.
There's a factor, Jim, that if, let's say, your relationship with the client ends, and let's say it ends badly, you can basically remove the API from the Divi backend, and then they're responsible for paying for the license.
That too. That used to be, I've never had that problem, but I remember when we were offering social media services, that was a very big thing we wish social media accounts had, but they don't. But yeah, that as well.
Christine, I wanted to ask you, do you provide any maintenance services for your clients, like, updates and all of that? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You have a particular tool that you use, like WP, I forget the name.
I should use the tool right now. To be honest, all of my maintenance clients aren't on Divi. So that's number one. But number two, I should get a tool, but I don't. So I do everything manually. But do you have a particular tool that you use in life that you can recommend?
I'm trying to remember the name. There's a tool that is now called, I think, GoDaddy Pro. So it doesn't have to do with GoDaddy hosting, but they bought a really good tool. I think it might have been called Main WP, or maybe that's a different one. But anyway,
I think it's Managed WP, Mickey.
Managed, thank you, Patty.
Yeah, okay.
So even though it has the GoDaddy name, it's not their hosting. And what it allows you to do is basically manage as many sites as you want from one dashboard. And it'll do updates, and it's free. And then there's some paid items, like if you want to manage backups from the site, it's $1 per backup, or there's some other things involved as well. But it's very good for managing multiple sites.
Interesting. So if you do an update through Managed WP, would it update everybody's plugins, everybody's WordPress at the same time?
You get to choose which sites you want to update. At a time. I can't recall if you can only do one at a time, or whether you could check two of them and say update WordPress, and it would go ahead and do it for you. I'm not sure.
You can check off multiple and do multiple updates, and you can also generate reports from them. So here's what was updated on your site this month, type thing.
Yeah, and I think with their paid version, you can white label it, and then the reports would come from you. You're basically providing a maintenance report of what was done, during a particular time period. So it's a pretty good, and it's not that expensive, I think, the paid version.
Christina, what's your process of when you're doing it manually? Like you do once a month? Like what's the process of your maintenance or backing up?
It's a bit of both doing the maintenance of the actual WordPress installation and then also content updates as well. So some clients will come, most of my clients come and they'll be like, okay, here's some blog posts I want to upload. This is some content I want to change, add this feature. And I kind of basically, any change they want to make on their website, apart from aesthetic or structural changes, that's what's carried out in my maintenance, on top of just updating the WordPress and plugins, etc. So right now I have a store that I'm managing, and she's having new products coming in. So I'm making banners for the site to promote the new products. And then she's uploading the products. So that's one thing I don't like doing. So I always tell my clients, you have to upload the products. I'll make them pretty, but you upload it. But she needed help with maybe setting up her shipping, so I helped her with that. So it's a little bit of bits and bobs here and there. for it. I think I charge way too cheap for it, but I like doing it. So. And my clients like it too because they see the value in it, obviously because it's so cheap, but they see the value in it.
Do you start out with layouts like the Divi layouts, or you build from scratch?
I built from scratch. The one time I built from a Divi layout, it took me like, I think 2 weeks to figure out how to customize it. So from then I just do everything from scratch. But I should stop doing that because it's not a proper process. Like you can't scale your agency up by doing everything like that. So with a new project that's coming in, I'm gonna learn how to wireframe in XD and then go from XD to Divi to like everything. But I always do everything from scratch. So I start off with like a blank builder and kind of work from there.
But sometimes I've used like just certain pages like contact, you can just look through, okay, just copy a contact page or just copy an about page and you can start from there. So just to get a feeler, and when you go back and you can see, okay, especially when you're learning, when you're new, it helps because you can see, okay, what they use padding, they use margin. So that really helps initially, especially for you if you're learning, so.
I would say that. I think it depends. Like I think it depends on your learning style. Like for me, I learn by doing. So, and also I think especially when working with clients, you have to kind of look at what their style is, and from that you can kind of pull what the industry is doing, and then merge that with their style, and then your own personal flair, and then it just makes it easier to bring that to life as opposed to trying to like hack up something that's already been provided. Yeah. That's what I personally find anyway. So
sometimes you waste more time just figuring out their things. Yeah.
Well, I guess so. But I think that's why it's really important when onboarding a client to get as much information from them as possible. So I use my CRM to actually collect all the content from clients from their website. So I actually will not work with you if you don't have your colors picked out, your fonts picked out, your photos picked out, you haven't done your professional photos, I will not work with you. Because it's from that I'm able to build out the website. Even some of my junior designers are able to build out the website. So yeah, I don't like doing it like from the templates. I prefer to use their own branding and stuff. I just find it easier.
That's bold, but I think it's very smart.
How is it really? Is that really that bold? I don't know. I just found it's easier to do it that way because it's a clean slate. Like you don't have to do anything.
Yeah. Those templates, sometimes if you're trying to figure out how something's done, by downloading a pre-made template and looking at the code behind it, you can get a real quick lesson on how something's set up.
Yeah.
I'll speak for templates. I love the templates. And what they're good for is if you have a very small client with a small budget and you want to have a big impact site, the template is a great way to get that person up and running with a beautiful site. If you're working with a larger company, of course you want to go more custom, but for someone very small, like a single person type of a deal, get a template and start with that. And they're not so fussy about all the colors and placements and everything. The template is beautiful. So the other thing about those layouts is there are some layouts that are the 4.0 Divi, and then there's some that are whatever it is, 3-something Divi. Like the older ones don't take advantage of all the Divi 4 features. It still looks good in Divi 4. It just doesn't take advantage of the Divi 4 features. So if you select the later versions of the layouts, you'll get something that actually works best with the 4.0.
Is there a way of finding that out when you go to download?
Yeah, I think when you pull it in, you can look and see if they've done what kind of customization they've done. If there's like the theme builder customizations in it, that's the Divi 4.0 features. But so you can kind of tell the way, just the order or things that are most recently released, like they do their blog, they release one layout every week. If you pick the latest one, those will have all the latest features built into it.
Yeah, thank you.
I think my biggest reason against using templates is I have seen so many websites across the web that have used like hacked up versions of the Divi templates, and I'm like, you're using Divi. For me,
Yeah.
I think the greatest thing with Divi is that the best thing about Divi I find is like every website I make, I want to make it look as un-Divi as possible. So that's my whole thing. So I don't want the site to look like Divi at all. So for me, like customizing like the next thing I'm trying to tackle right now is customizing the mobile menu, because the mobile menu, it's so like you see it and you know right away this is a Divi website.
Yeah.
So looking at getting a mega menu plugin that will kind of totally change, and like some CSS and some jQuery. But that's my aim whenever I work on every website is to make sure that this looks as not as Divi as the last website or Divi at all. So that's kind of my own personal.
I kind of agree with Christina that sometimes, you know, I've tried to use templates, but then they just don't work. They don't fit necessarily my content. So sometimes I take some sections like Tima was saying about footers or, you know, just to get started. But like what I do is like, I also works for me. Like I draw it on a piece of paper, what I want. And then I try to search for it, and then I kind of learn. Like I feel like, okay, I want to do this animation. I don't know how to do it. So then I Google, you know, I go through the blog and for Element Themes, and I try to find something, and then I kind of learn that. And then I figure out, okay, what else do I need? You know, and then kind of like step by step. But I want to make it unique because I know what Christina was saying. I see a lot of people who use Extra Theme, especially, and I've used Extra Theme. Their website look like pretty much like the Extra Theme that you download. It just looks pretty much the same, you know. So you want to give it a little bit of like your own unique style and character.
Exactly. That's exactly it.
It used to be you could tell a Divi website just by looking at the header before they had the theme builder, because the headers needed a lot of customization to not look like Divi headers.
Yeah.
But with the theme builder now you can build whatever you want for the headers. So
Yeah.
great.
I still haven't, like I've forayed into the theme builder a little bit. Like now, every single website I build, I use a theme builder, but not for like, I haven't ventured into redesigning the header, but I've done some footers. I've definitely used it a lot in WooCommerce. I've used it a lot in blogs and archive pages, but I don't know. I still feel like I'm not happy with the theme builder for the headers yet. I'm still not happy with it. So I still stick with the default one. But again, once I find that perfect mega menu plugin, and yeah, then I'm really gonna go to town with it.
I think, Christina, Divi Life, which is Tim Stifler, I think the guy's name is, he has a really good mega menu plugin. So I think it's divilife.com. You might want to check that one out.
I think I'm subscribed to their newsletter, so I'll definitely check it out. Have you used it before?
I haven't used it in a project, but I've looked at it very closely for a potential thing that I'm trying to do.
Got that. Thank you for that.
Wow, you guys, this has been an amazing meeting. Does anyone else have any other questions or topics that you want to cover?
Patty, I just wanted to ask you and Christina and Jeanine as hosts, is there anywhere to get a listing of Divi meetups? Since, you know, people can now join from anywhere. I know when you belong to like Divi NYC, you also belong to Divi Nation, but I haven't really seen on Meetup at least where they're all listed together.
I don't believe they are. And
The Divi website, I'm pretty sure, lists all the Divi meetups throughout the world.
yeah, there is a blog every month that highlights the meetings that were held so that you could see all of the locations. I don't, oh, is somebody just, Eric just put something in the calendar.
There's a little calendar for all WordPress meetups, and within there you can just you know, look for Divi within it, but it has all the Divi plus all the WordPress meetups and
Great.
the word camps and all the events and so forth.
Thanks, Eric. That's great.
That's worldwide too, if you want to join Australia's ones or wherever.
Oh, wow.
They have a really good one in Australia, Sydney, actually.
That's great. That's great info. Thank you.
That was a hot tip. Thank you.
That was amazing. I even like the
That's how
meetup-
I found this one. I'm in California, Mountain View.
That's dope. Thanks, Eric. Yeah, I went on there and the first one I saw was like the Divi Brampton. So I'm like, oh, this is really recent. Cool.
By the way, does everybody know how to save the chat from this Zoom meeting?
No.
Okay, so when you go to open the chat box, there's a little 3 dots on the bottom right corner, and when you can click Save Chat, and it'll download right to your computer, to your hard drive. And I did record this session because I knew we had our formal presentation, so I can also, I'll upload this for you and share the link. I'll send it in the meetup to everyone, so you have access to how to review, to watch again.
That's great. Thank you.
Sure thing. Oh, and you know what? We need to take a photo, a group photo. I want to put a gallery view. Is everybody up for a photo?
Yeah, I am.
Everybody want to go like this? No? All right, I'm just going to do a couple screenshots really quickly, and then I try to get the one that has the best photo of everybody smiling. 1, 2, 3, smile. Okay, I'm sure I got at least one. Thank you, guys. I should remember.
Thank you so much, Christina. Thank you, Patty.
You're welcome.
Yes, thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Christina, thank you so much for your time. This was amazing.
No worries. Final comments. You can go back to the site and download the CSS code, and I will update it once I find how to make the pop-up smaller. Also, if you are up for it next week, myself, Jim, Charisse will be having the Divi meetup next week, Thursday at 6 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. So if you want to come through, you can totally do that. And thank you again for having me. And hopefully we can drop in again, I think.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Christina. That was great.
Really great. Thanks everybody for your participation. Love having you, and we'll look forward to next month.
Take care. Thank you, guys. Thanks.
Bye.
Make sure you save the chat if you want it before we end the meeting.
Oh, I'm gonna do that.
Okay, I just did it also. Jim, did
Okay,
you
good.
get it?
Yep, I got it.
All right. All right, girl. You want to chat for a minute on the phone?
Sure.
All right, I'll call you.
All right, bye.